Okay, so I've got my little dust poofs in here, but I need to slow them down. So I will start by going to my initial velocity, and in here my min and max are all pretty high, so I'm going to move these down really low. I'm going to set this to 0.5. This is my max, so I'll do 0.5x, 0.5y, and maybe I will even do 0.5z. Then I'll do the same thing down here. I'll do a negative zero point 0.5, negative zero point 0.5, and negative zero point 0.5. And now I've basically just got this little tiny dust poof. Adorbs. Of course, this isn't really what I want. I want little dust particles to kind of sparkle in the air. And for that, thankfully, this is pretty simple. All I'm going to do is right-click here in the Cascade area, and here in Cascade, I'm going to set up a new location. I'm going to tell the emitter location to be a sphere. And as soon as I do that, you see I get all of these little dust clouds just kind of sparkling through the air, which looks much prettier. They're still moving a little fast, but I can slow them down. The trick is the sphere, so I think it's really hard to see what's going on in here. With the sphere, I'll come back to it in just a moment, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and then I'll head over to my content browser. I'll go back to Content, into Particles. There's my dust cloud. By the way, there's no image here. If I go back in here and I click this thumbnail button, save again. Look, now I've got a thumbnail. Yeah, there's a special button right there. So I'm going to take my dust cloud and drag it into my dining room. Come on, drag over. Come on. Okay, let me pause the screen capture again. Now the dust cloud is in my room. So the size is determined by that sphere that I just added, and when I look at it here, you can see that the sphere is kind of small. It's taking up maybe a third of the room. So that would be great if I wanted one area to be particularly dusty, but I want dust all over the place. I can move, rotate, and I suppose scale the dust cloud, but I don't really want to scale my particle system. I want to do that in the particle system itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the dust cloud, and with my sphere, I can twirl down my start radius until I find its size. That's this constant. It's set to 50. I'm going to try 150. By the way, in case you're wondering, there is a draw mode down here that will let me turn the sphere on, but because scale is so hard to determine while I'm looking at this view, sometimes I'll turn it on for a couple of seconds and then turn it back off, but I don't usually do much with it. So there we go, my constant is set to 150. I will take this and save it again. And now when I go back here, maybe I've made it a little too big. My dust seems to be going outside. I could add a kill box, but I think that that's going a little too far for our introductory lesson, so I'm just going to turn this down maybe to 100. Save that, go back into the dining room, and that looks just about perfect. If I go back in here, you can see all the fun lighting that we did last time. Still going on. And I'll deselect the floor. Sorry, I'll deselect the dust cloud. That should get rid of the shading around the particle. And now you can just see them kind of popping in and out of existence. So that's the dust cloud, and that's a nice, simple introduction to the particle system. So if I go through here again, the emitter, all I did was change its name. I did that by right-clicking, emitter, rename emitter. Under required, I changed the material over to my particle basic material. I also changed my screen alignment to PSA velocity, which will let me do more with the velocity. Spawn controls how many particles there are and the rate of distribution. So if you want more or fewer, you can adjust that. Lifetime determines how long the particles live once they're on the screen. Maybe I will keep some of them on there longer. Initial size gives you the ability to change their size, just as the name suggests. So mine will vary between 2 units and 1 unit. If that's too big for your dust cloud, don't worry, you can shrink that down. Initial velocity controls how quickly they move. If yours are moving too quickly, and I think mine are, I can turn these numbers down. Remember, the top line is the max, the bottom line is the min. And yes, you can use decimal points here. So we can go nice and slow. Color over life will let you change not just the color of the particle, but also allow you to change the particle's color over the course of its life. And finally, I added this sphere so that my particle could have more volume. I did that by right-clicking here in the cascade and under location, adding a sphere. So that concludes the dust cloud section of this particle tutorial. I will leave you here so that you can make your dust cloud, and when you're ready, I will get started turning this into sparks and flames.